Let's bring in Blaine Fowler to join the conversation. Blaine, how's it going, brother?
It's good. And somebody will win a Doak Walker Award here again.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not out of the question. That's not I mean, there's only been one, but that's not a crazy thing to think that they could do that.
If Taysom Hill is a running back this year, maybe there could be a Doak Walker Award.
He could do it for sure.
Let's talk about the unobtainable record. That's been part of our discussion. You were a part of the one that I picked, but what's your opinion? What's the BYU unobtainable record?
I would agree with you that one's hard to do just because it's changed so much. The schedule, and when we're talking about, as Jerem said, that 25 wins in a row in football, I just don't know how you do that in today's world with there's more parity in college football, first off, and then secondly, BYU doesn't play the schedule we played, and our schedule was much easier. Hey, I'm willing to admit it. And you had some games you had to really get up for, and some games you could coast on. And even with that, you've got to be really, really lucky. I think back to that 25-game win streak and how many games we had that came right down to the wire, and we ended up winning them. And some of them are lucky. You have to have a dive over the top of the line of scrimmage and get a quarterback ahead of Hawaii. You got to have a last-minute stop against Wyoming. So a lot of things have to happen to be undefeated in a season. But to lose your opener, win 11 in a row, and then go undefeated the next season, that's why we won a national championship. I don't think a 13-0 BYU team that doesn't have 11 wins in a row the year before wins a national championship. And so I think it was a building. We stood on the shoulders of what Steve Young and that crew did, and we were all on that team too. But what we did that previous year launched us into the next year, and we still weren't ranked high. But then we
were unranked.
Then we go beat Pittsburgh, who was ranked, and everybody's like, "Oh, well, heck, they won 11 in a row last year, and look, they're good again, even though Steve Young's gone. So just maybe." And then we started to move up the polls. In the voting days before there was a playoff, back in those days, I don't think BYU wins with a 13-0 schedule. I think they give it to Washington or an Oklahoma or somebody like that. So 25 wins is rare. I mean, has Alabama even done that in recent years? I don't know that they have 25 in a row.
I don't think they've gotten up to 12. Florida State got into the 20s.
Yeah, it's
with James
just
Winston.
It's hard to do, and they play a much tougher schedule now. I just don't know that that's possible.
I decided to go with Kyle Collinsworth triple doubles. Do you think that that's a record that will be broken at some point?
It's going to be a long, long time on that one because he's such a unique skill set. Guys that handle the ball that much and play the point don't rebound that well. He's just a ridiculous rebounder, and I would say he's in the top 3 rebounding guards in the country for the last 4 years. Well, not 4 in a row, but from before his mission and after his mission, he's been a 4-year guy. So, and it took him till his junior and senior year to get on a roll and figure out how he could dominate in all 3 of those areas. And he's so long, he's so physical, he handles the ball so well. He's got such a distribution mindset, and he's got such a mindset to go in and attack the glass and get rebounds. And he's an adequate scorer. So he's not a big-time scorer. So it's funny that the scoring part of it is the one where, he just kind of gets into 10, 12, 14, and that's good. When he gets triple doubles, it's usually not 30 points and 10 rebounds and 10 assists. It's a nice balanced game. He's a very unique talent, and his physical skill set is very unique. And I don't know that you get a guy that plays a point guard that's going to be that good a rebounder for a long time.
With his record, we're talking about, will anyone in the NCAA ever do that? Whereas the other conversations are about, will anyone at BYU do that? Yeah. That's what's unique about the triple-double thing.
Yeah, I don't know. You think about who he passed along the way. So you get Shaq.
Shaq.
Is there ever going to be as dominant a 4? There probably will be at some point. But my heavens, he was dominating in college when he was at LSU.
Set the NCAA block record against BYU
he was blocking
in the NCAA
12 and 13 shots a game. Like, you couldn't take anything into the key without it getting blocked. And then, of course, he would score because he dunked 9 times in a game. And then he's going to get every rebound there is on the court. And so, man, there's not that many big guys coming out. We look in the NBA, and he may be, in terms of physical presence and domination, has there been anybody ever better in the NBA?
No, Yao Ming had a shot, but
injuries.
So he passed him. He passed Kidd, who was a phenomenal triple-double kind of guy in the NBA. It's pretty rarefied air that he's in, and he blew right by those guys. So I think it's going to be a long time before the guy has that kind of skill set to do it in the NCAA as well, and then play in an offense where they ask him to do so much, where they say, listen, we want you to have the ball in your hand every single solitary time. You're going to be the distributor. Oh, and by the way, as a point guard, we want you to go to the offensive glass. We'll rotate other guys back. We want you to defensive rebound, and we'll play it down on the front line defensively sometimes. And so just that unique, the amount of time he played to get good, his skill set and the way Dave Rose used him, I don't know if that comes around for a long time, not just at BYU, but in the NCAA.
Since we're talking about college basketball, I'm curious your reaction to the news yesterday. We saw a report from Jeff Goodman about Jake Toolson. We here at BYU Sports Nation have been able to confirm the report that Toolson is transferring. What's your reaction to that?
I'm a little disappointed, but I'm not surprised, knowing Jake and the struggles that he's had with his health. But I felt like he was a guy that, had he been able to develop, was somebody that could have really contributed, because he's got good length out on the perimeter at 6'5". He can guard big guys, and he's just such a confident scorer out there. And he brings you a guy that, had he been able to play over the last couple years and get kind of in a groove, a really dangerous weapon that would have been a nice augment to Nick Emery driving into the key and kicking it out, and Hawes being able to do that. Another guy on the perimeter, another guy in transition that can spot up. So it hurts BYU having one less weapon, but in games, I think they're fine. I think they're okay with 4 scholarship, guards right now in games. It hurts you a lot in practice, because BYU likes to play a lot of 3-guard offenses. And if you're going in practice and you're playing against a team that runs a lot of 3 guards or point and 2 wings, now how do you simulate that in practice with really, really high quality players? So it hurts you in practice, and it hurts you sometimes when you want to play small and you've got foul trouble. So it hurts, but BYU's got enough quality shooters, and they've got big guys that are quality shooters coming back that I don't think will notice it a big deal. It won't be as big a deal in games.
Yeah, last year, the year of the backup transfer for BYU, Corey Calvert, Cooper Ainge, now Jake Toolson. You mentioned the 4. BYU played with only 5 scholarship guards this year, but 2 were seniors, Kyle Collinsworth, Chase Fisher. Next year, they're all freshmen or sophomores. That, to me, is maybe a bit of a concern that all 4 of those, although talented, very young.
Yeah, amazingly talented. And Elijah Bryant is an experienced guy. So he's going to be new, but he's experienced. And then Nick Emery, he's young, but
the seasoned vet among those 4, right?
He played like a junior last year, so he'll play like a senior this year. And you guys watched very closely, as I did, Hawes in high school. He is a very composed player. He plays with just a lot of court sense and moxie. And I from the time he was a sophomore in high school, I'm going, man, this guy's way beyond his years. Now he's gone out on a mission, so he's gotten some maturity in those areas. I think he comes back and he's like Emery. He won't seem like a freshman at all. And now BYU, as good as those guards are, now all of a sudden we're talking about, but this is going to be a frontline-oriented team anyhow. I mean, they really have the possibility with Mika coming back, and people don't know that much about Dastrup, but as good as he is, the ability to go inside and outside, Dastrup's a really, really good shooter, a perimeter shooter. So now all of a sudden BYU is probably more balanced next year than they've been. I said all along, I said it 2 years ago, I said it all during this year, and I'm still saying it, that last year was a transition year, and they won 20-plus games again. How good a coaching job is that by Dave Rose? And this is when it starts to really go. And I would not be surprised to see this team win and advance in the NCAA tournament, and then that sets the table for the next year and the next year, when I think they're going to be on the national scene this year. They have that much talent. They have that good a coaching staff, and then they take a step forward. And then how about 2 years from now, let's play in the Final Four? How does that sound?
Woo! I don't want to say it out loud.
Sounds good.
I want to beat Gonzaga in Vegas first.
Yeah, let's do that.
You got to do
let's
that.
Do that.
I want to ask you another football question. We're going to have Taryn Houck actually in studio coming up in our next segment. And with the NFL draft coming up, obviously there's a lot of focus on these guys trying to make it to the next level. Taking Bronson Kafusi off the table, because he's the obvious answer as BYU's best prospect, who's the next best NFL prospect on the BYU roster that's available to be drafted?
Yeah, I mean, Bronson's the obvious guy. And so you're taking him off. But just one comment about Bronson. He's not even close to how good he's going to be yet, because he played in a 3-4, which really played out of position. They tried to play him at linebacker because it wasn't a 4-3. He was born to be a 4-3 end, and now he's going to get a chance to do that. So not only does he got the most opportunity right away, but he has a potential to be really good in the NFL for a long time if he can stay healthy. So I just want to make sure I'm so excited to see him play in a 4-3. and to
I
be
hope
able
he
to
goes
focus.
to the right
Yeah.
place for him.
So then, oh man, that's hard because I think that the best prospects that BYU have after Bronson are probably all underclassmen right now. This wasn't a class full of NFL guys. I think Taryn has a shot because I think he can. I just saw him in the gym the other day. He's getting bigger. He's adding mass. He can be a big inside receiver. Heck, he could put on weight and play tight end if he wanted to. He's got he's got great hands. It's hard to say. I think that Matthews has an opportunity because of his length and because of the way that he ran in his pro day here. I think that opened up a lot of eyes. I think people are going, oh, wait a minute. We watched him. We didn't realize that he could run in the 4.4. So I think there's going to be people that are going to go, he certainly will get a shot. And if that speed that he showed in pro day can now go out on the field and he can come out of breaks at 4.4 speed and he can separate from people at that kind of speed, then he's got a really good shot because we've seen a lot of big receivers make it in the NFL in recent years. So he's probably the one with what he showed in pro day. He's probably the next guy. But I look beyond that and I look at what BYU has right now. They've got 3 linebackers that'll probably start next year that are all NFL guys.
Yeah,
that's I think Francis Bernard in spring ball. I'm watching him every spring ball and I'm just going, wow, yikes! This guy is really, really talented and he's just barely playing that position. He could develop into an NFL guy. And then Warner, I think, as he gets bigger and stronger, it can be an NFL guy. And then Harvey Lange just looks like an NFL guy already. And he's going to develop. He's new in that position. So I'm watching them when they line up in a 4-3 and those 3 guys there, I'm going, wow, when's the last time we said, hey, all of BYU starting linebackers might be NFL guys?
2012.
Yeah.
When all of those guys made it.
Yeah.
At some point, right?
And when you're going to play a 4-3, if you got that behind that front, and BYU's going to get better in the front, I'm getting really excited about this defense over the next couple of years. And I was standing next to Brian Keel, and he and I were looking through the talent on this team. And I said, hey, I'm just looking at those linebackers. Am I out of my mind? You know what it takes. And he goes, oh, no. All 3 of those guys have the skill set to play in the NFL. So that's kind of exciting.